Two friends met in the street. One looked sad and almost on the verge of tears. The other man said, "Hey friend, how come you look like the whole world has caved in?" The sad fellow mentioned, "Let me tell you. 3 weeks ago, an uncle died and left me $50,000. That's not bad hold on. I'm just getting started. 2 weeks ago, a cousin I never knew left me $95,000 tax-free. Well, that's great. I like that. Well, last week, my grandfather passed away, and I inherited almost $1 million. So the friend asked, "Why are you so glum?" The man mentioned, "This week, nothing." He gained nothing this week. Greed, greed, greed. It is a poor sentiment, truly, where we are not satisfied with what we have, especially when what we have is enough for us to live and be comfortable. Seems like we can never get enough, whether it's the iPhone or Bluetooth headset or speakers or a series of cars, and possibly the worst part, or maybe the most dangerous part, bundles and bundles of cash. After all, we have to go on vacation, right? Notice how those things are not bad in and of itself. It's just that when we are too focused on the self and what we have and our own assets, we forget that we wouldn't have them if it weren't for God. And this same God is not going to allow you to take things with you to heaven, because the goods that we have do not follow us when we die. So, why do we get so attached? We are attached because greed illustrates a hopelessness in our hearts, making it hard to believe that there is more to life than to attain. We try to taste everything as much as we have before it's all over. And when we live like this, we live a great tragedy. However, friends, anything aside from the love of the Lord is just not good enough for our hearts, because we remain obtaining and doing everything harmful and worrisome to protect this so-called wealth. Whereas the peace that God brings can never be taken away from you. So if greed is a product of hopelessness, that means that we have forgotten that there is something better waiting for us. We are not purposeless beings. We have a mission, and that is the theme of today's readings, that we have all been called and we have all been sent. Are we paying attention? In the first reading, we hear how God, through the ways he deems fit, which is, by the way, far beyond our imagination, this God picks and chooses as he wills. He knows the type. He knows the way. He knows the mission. God chooses who he wants for his mission because he knows who we are. And he knows our capability. And our capabilities are more than what meets the human eye. David was tiny and scrawny, not as manly looking, but David led the people of Israel. And through him, we are given the biblical perspective of a kingdom that is favored and has no end. And if David did not respond to God's call and was greedy in doing the things that he could have wanted instead of what he needed to do, he would not have fulfilled his purpose in life. The most recognizable psalm by all Christians is probably the one that we hear of today. The Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I shall want. And so if the Lord takes care of you, keeps you alive, and has your best interest, what is there to worry about? Yeah, absolutely nothing. Do we really believe that inside? If so, why get mad when someone steals our stuff? Why do we hog up all the toilet paper in the store? Why do we eat up all the cookies? Is it because we're worried that there won't be anything left for us? Notice how that worry reduces the human person into a thing meant for survival instead of a being meant for glory, a glory alluded to in the second reading in St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians. He says that we are called to live as children of the light, meaning that we are children of that which lasts and not that which dies or deteriorates. Jesus instructs the blind man today to go wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. God extends his love to all. However, there are obstacles to our belief, sometimes spiritually and other times physically. We see which one is worse. Others just don't want to believe because it was not in accordance with their own expectations. But one was yearning in his heart. He was open. And the blind man was cured for a purpose, to proclaim the love of the Lord in his very self. He wasn't better than anyone else. It just so happened to be that his heart was open and needed no validation from man. It is now time for us to stop seeking validation from man or woman and seek it from the one who truly saves. And seek it from the one who truly sends us. In greed, we hold on to things that really aren't ours and put aside that which really matters. That which really matters is that Christ who was not greedy for attention and the Christ who was not in need of appreciation from the many. None of those mattered. However, in the life, death, and resurrection of Christ, our Savior, we see pure charity. That God, who did not need to come to earth and save the people that he created, a people that continuously do what we want instead of do his will, this God came to offer himself to us. Friends, this is charity. And this is the antidote of greed. Charity gives and is open and is joyous. Unfortunately, we all know that in our hearts. We know how it feels when we give. It's just that we probably need some motivation. Let me help put things in perspective. Always prioritize your needs over your wants. For example, you need a car to go to work. You want a BMW. Know the difference. And so, friends, the Lord is calling upon you to know the difference. Examine what we need, what is necessary, and that which is comfortable. List it out. And afterwards, maybe give the rest away. Because after all, you cannot carry it with you to heaven. There's only space for you and not your clothes or our bad attitudes or our gold or our jewelry, our cars, and all other junk that remain in the garage. Know the mission. Know what is necessary for the mission. And like a good soldier for God's kingdom, fight the good fight in ways that lead to victories. Imagine if John Wick or Jason Statham or Liam Neeson were obsessed in keeping all their possessions safe and handy from place to place. They wouldn't be able to save the day. In fact, it will get in the way of the mission. You too, friends, must not let anything weigh you down. Let it go. Let God work. And maybe for your homework today, list 10 things that you should give up right now and give them away. When doing that, simply pray a prayer of thanksgiving for what we do have.